Focus in on the travel space and hospitality. Given that they've borne the brunt of the pandemic and then the second wave coming in, these companies have been hit. But is there a glimmer of hope with the vaccination picking up steam and people gradually resuming travel plans like they have overseas? Let's find out. We've got Devendra Parulekar. He's the founder at SaffronStays, as well as Vipul Prakash, the COO at MakeMyTrip.com, joining in on the show. Thank you so much for being with us. Vipul, to begin with you, clearly the second wave has proven to be a huge dampener for the travel sector. Put it into perspective in terms of trends and numbers that you've seen that have impacted the space, and now are you sensing a glimmer of hope or revival?
Yeah, so thanks a lot. I think if you have to put it in perspective, we were very pleasantly surprised with the recovery after the first wave. Especially in domestic tourism. International was still very, very muted. But, in January and February, we were very encouraged with the trends, so much so that a lot of people were expecting this summer to be a great travel season. Then obviously wave 2 hit. And as you rightly said, the sentiment this time was very down. And it, really meant that travel took a beating. However, there were some good silver linings about the, second wave. One, travel never totally stopped, unlike wave 1. So, flights were operating, hotels were open, trains were operating. So it never went down to a sort of a, low zero, which it had after the first, round. And second, obviously, vaccination. So, people are feeling that, once this thing and the number of cases go down, we would see a revival much steeper than the first wave. And the good news is the last 2 weeks are at least very early testimony to that fact. The way traveling is opening up, the way people are not only booking, but we always like to believe that, when people start searching on our platform, looking for places, looking for flights, that is a very, very good lead indicator to what will happen in the next, month or so when people will actually go and book. So suffice it to say, we are quite encouraged with the early signs after the second wave abating, at least in major cities.
Okay, fair enough. And Devendra, what about you? What's it been like in terms of people picking up the phone, actually taking bookings? Have people been spending long spits of time or weekends working from anywhere now? And what has it been like through the second wave for the company?
Well, the lockdown was pretty much brutal on us as a company. Those 2 months were very, very bad because your fixed cost meters are all running, your leases are running, your salaries are running. Unfortunately, there's no business. But the good news is that there are 3 things that have happened. One, Maharashtra, which is one of our largest markets, Mumbai and Pune being our focus areas, and all the homes which are within a driving distance from Mumbai and Pune have opened up. So the wave has abated, the lockdown has opened up in large parts of Maharashtra. Second, the monsoons have hit Maharashtra. And that has been a huge, impact in terms of interest to get out of the city. The famous Mumbaikar story is, Mumbaikar is defined by a person who, leaves Mumbai when it starts raining and goes to Lonavala to catch the same rains. So, and the third important factor which has changed is vaccination. Unlike Unlock 1, where most of us were not vaccinated, none of us were vaccinated. Right now, at least the target segment that we target, the premium segment, which SaffronStays targets, most of the people are at least have taken 1 jab. Okay, the combination of these 3 factors has resulted in a dramatic upswing in the sales post numbers that I'm seeing in the last 2 weeks. So it's not just search results, it's not just inquiries. We've actually started seeing dramatic conversions or upswing in the actual realizations on our platform. So I sense that June is going to be a great period for recovery. As more and more panchayats, as more and more gram panchayats open up, you will start seeing, for example, Mahabaleshwar Panchgani is still shut. Kashid is still shut. Some parts of Karjat are still shut. So as and when these start opening up, you will start seeing Maharashtra, tourism numbers dramatically increase. The operations that SaffronStays has across the country is pretty much muted. In fact, only yesterday, Himachal announced that they would start allowing people in. Most of the other states are still a little cagey about allowing outsiders. And once their COVID numbers start coming into manageable numbers, you will start seeing Indians go back to tourism as fast as they can. Nobody wants to sit at home. And you've correctly said you can work out of any place, right? In fact, the COVID 2 has taught us and that work from home. For example, SaffronStays has taken a conscious call. We are going to be permanent work from home for at least 75% of our staff. No reason to go back to our office. We have given up our offices. Only one office we have retained now. So it's a long-term trend. There's no reason to operate out of your low peril office. You can operate out of Goa. You can operate out of Alibag, as long as you have high super broadband, and that means that increases your weekday occupancies. That increases your duration of the stay. It's not just a weekend. It's actually 4 nights, 5 nights, and that makes it that much more suitable for us.
Okay. Vipul, what about the vaccine passport, particularly when it comes to global travel as well? But is this going to skew the terms for developing countries like India, where perhaps the rate of vaccination is a bit slower? In that sense, do you see that segment of travel taking a little while to pick up, given that we're only just picking up domestically?
So I'll just break it up into 2 or 3 things. One is your question about the vaccine passport or whatever they might call it, where, basically, essentially, people who have had the 2 doses will be encouraged by a lot of countries to come in. And while our overall numbers in terms of percentages look low, let me just give you a statistic. In the best year of, let's say, 2019, about 20 million people from India went abroad. And if you really look at this, by August, these 20 million people would be vaccinated. So overall numbers can be a bit misleading. So actually, as I think Devin was just referring to, the people who are the target for even going abroad will be vaccinated by August. So while the overall numbers we might look at, that our percentage is lower, when it comes to being able to travel abroad, even if the vaccination passport becomes a reality, I think we will be at no advantage or disadvantage to other countries. So that's good news. The second good news is, obviously, a lot of countries whose economy depends on tourism are really itching to welcome tourists back. I think the second wave has slightly delayed that welcome. For example, Phuket is opening up on 1st of July, but right now they have not put Indians on that list. But I think it's just a question of another 2 weeks, 4 weeks. When the numbers come down, people get confidence in the vaccination. So that's another significant difference from, the first phase, in my view. The revival of the first phase was only about domestic tourism. This time, what I expect is domestic tourism will be even more robust than last time, but we will also see international tourism, coming back with a bang. When I would put my money on maybe the September to December period, when we will see many countries, especially Maldives, Dubai, Thailand, etc., opening up in a big way. Europe and the US and Australia might take a bit longer and, might take us into next summer.
Okay, fair enough. Devendra, let me get you in on this as well, talking about the recovery versus the West. And, you talked about realizations. But this time around, do you also see the kind of attractive offers that we had last summer when yes, domestic travel was really all the rage? Do you see that trend continuing, or do you see it being more in the companies or the vendors' favor this time versus the consumers?
So, the market has to be broken down into several parts. One, if you look at the urban market or the urban luxury market, the 5 stars and the 7 stars within the cities, you will find tremendous pressure on pricing on that, primarily because business travel has been dramatically impacted. And I sense that business travel will continue to remain impacted for some time. As organizations will look down on doing all their work on Zoom because the need for a meeting is no longer being felt, and you can just do it on Zoom. So business travel will dramatically get impacted, thereby impacting occupancies of city hotels. Having said that, leisure hotels, leisure homes, or leisure vacation homes will see a dramatic upswing. So anything within a driving distance of 2 to 4 hours would start seeing a much higher occupancy. For example, right now I can tell you that homes that were earlier, were going at, say, 40%, 50% occupancy, today are going at 70, 80% occupancy, right? And it's not even 2 weeks into June. So whichever Gram Panchayats have opened, all the vacation homes are full up. And we're having a real problem on the supply. And we're making all efforts to ensure that supply is open up. So it's a completely different set of market insofar as urban is concerned versus the leisure market or the holiday market. So it's going to be very, very interesting how this pans out. You will see discounts in urban 5 stars, and you will see rates firming up, occupancies firming up, and average realizations going up on leisure market, particularly in driving destinations.
Vipul, wanted to understand what are people searching for when it comes to holidays? I'm guessing that hygiene, sanitation, security, safety must be the top priority right now. But give us your own sense on what really has been the feedback and the consumer trend.
Great question. So I think the first thing might be slightly counterintuitive that, actually a lot of consumers have taken safety, sanitation, etc. to be table stakes now. I think unlike the first wave where, everybody had to say, what are we doing and all, I think now people are pretty much sure that any responsible hotel or stay or homestay, etc. would take care of the basic hygiene. So actually the sort of searches we saw for safety and all are still there, but it's more that, it's more an absence which is speaking rather than a presence which helps. That's the thing. I think the interesting trends, the way I look at it, Devin was very right. People are the leisure searches for, let's say, drivable property 2 to 4 hours is definitely looking up. One of the other very encouraging trends which we look at is what we call advanced purchase. For example, last 2 months, everything was getting booked for travel in the next 1 week. That means it was more essential travel, which you have to do. But in the last 2 weeks, people looking for places in July, August, etc., has increased significantly. That just gives the confidence that people are planning their holiday well ahead, well ahead of time, and therefore they feel confident that they will be able to, go and they want to go. So I think these are the sort of trends which are very encouraging. And also in terms of, the sort of people who are saying it was initially only the luxury segment really, which was booking. But now we have seen it go down to mid-tier hotels also. We have seen smaller cities booking much more than just the Delhis and the Bombays of the world. And all these are positive indicators that basically travel, or at least the desire for travel, is becoming very democratic and coming closer to pre-COVID normal times rather than what it was in that restricted time when, only essential travel was happening.
Right, fair point. Devendra, would you have any observations here in terms of how the consumer/customer trends have changed from the first wave to now?
Yes. So there are a few things that I would like to articulate. Number one, the group sizes in just after unlock 1, the group sizes were very, very small. So, just one family or maybe at best 2 families are going. We've now started seeing that the group sizes are slightly getting bigger because more and more people are getting vaccinated. You got to realize that, the entire family is now traveling. For example, in wave 1, the grandparents were definitely not stepping out. Now, even senior citizens have started stepping out because they are double vaccinated, right? So we're starting to see that the group size is going up. Second is, earlier it was only purely, as correctly said by Vipul, luxury travel, which, where they believed that they were in bubbles, vaccine bubbles, or COVID bubbles, they were traveling. Now it's a little more broader based. Okay, people at even millennials, young families, groups of friends, they've started traveling. My real cause for concern or worry is that we shouldn't as a nation go overboard and probably witness a wave 3. We got to be really, really cautious. And one of the things that we as a company are doing is we are just absolutely saying no to any group size that is beyond capacity. For example, we get a lot of requests for marriage because now wedding halls are shut. So everybody wants to shift their marriage to a vacation home or a private villa or by the beach. And we're just flatly saying no to large groups. because we just don't want to be a reason for the wave 3, and that will just probably create far more problems for us as an industry. So my request to my fellow industrymen, I know we've all had a lot of losses in the last couple of months, and I know we are a very small startup and we got hit the most because our fixed costs were impacted the most, and we don't have as much deep pockets as my colleague Vipul has. But having said that, I would urge all my industry brethren to probably go a little slow, reject bookings, keep gaps between bookings, but kind of ensure that we are not responsible for wave 3 in our exuberance to recoup losses.
Message is echoed because you really don't want to go back to square one just by taking on this kind of sheer volume in bookings. But let's also get in a view then, Vipul, as to what the outlook is when it comes to, government steps that have been taken for the travel industry or the hospitality industry. I understand that there was a lot of things on the wish list, such as industry status, rebate in electricity charges, etc. For a sector that has been so badly hit, do you think a lot more ammunition is needed from the government?
Yeah, of course. And, I think we have been working with our industry colleagues, and we do feel that, this is one sector which is not what it's due in terms of help from the government. And I'm sure the government has its own reasons and its own compulsions. And as we get out of this pandemic, I mean, one part of support is to the extent of, how can we help the, hotels and the airlines, etc. The other very important role the government can play is how can we spur the demand? That would also help like nobody's business. So for example, at the peak of wave 1, the decision was taken that people can actually, government employees can use their leave travel concession on actually buying durables and all. I think, is this the right time when we actually reverse the picture and give consumers the incentives to go and travel domestically? See, this is the golden opportunity we have. India has always wanted to spur up domestic tourism. We were able to do an average job of it. This is a godsend opportunity for us to really promote the hidden jewels, and hidden gems. And we have so many of them. And this is the time when we can promote that. And I think all the ecosystem of hospitality is up to it. We just need that little nudge from the government. And, these things can really go a big way in actually India transforming itself as far as domestic tourism is concerned. And, I would be very happy if 3 years down the line, we look back at these tough times and say, they were very tough times. But guess what? One of the good side effects was that India domestic tourism has become very robust. And a lot of Indians are actually taking pride and pleasure in looking at our hidden gems. So that would be my only one thing and hope, from the government, besides other infrastructural, things.
Fair enough. Devendra, you were just talking about the size of your company, and there are plenty, just like you. Do you think that at a time like this, it's a case of survival of the fittest, that, as you were saying, with your high fixed cost metrics running, that a lot of companies perhaps who don't have big pockets will just not be able to survive this pandemic and have already shut down? If you would have any stats in terms of numbers?
No, I don't have stats about the industry. But I can tell you that both cases, both waves of lockdowns were brutal on our company. But as an entrepreneur, you got to pull up your sleeves. You cut down on your costs. Your employees support you. Your investors support you. Sometimes your customers support you by pre-booking in advance and ensuring that cash flow comes in. All you got to do is get into a survival mode. You're going to wait it out. Better times are going to come, and that's exactly what has happened, right? April and May, we really got into the so-called cockroach mode, just survival mode, and now hopefully, now that demand is back, we are back with a bang, and hopefully we are looking at numbers which are much better than even the first unlock one. That's definitely going to happen. So I think the government, the only thing, if I were to ask anything from the government, it's a dramatic increase in vaccination, because according to me, the best economic stimulus for that this country will need is vaccination for all our people. For example, all the staff in the hospitality industry, get them vaccinated on a war mode, mission mode. Restaurants, hotels, vacation homes, caretakers, cooks, everybody needs to be vaccinated in a mission mode, because that will give traumatic confidence in the mind of the customer to go to any hotel, to go to any restaurant, go to any vacation home, eyes closed, because they know that the staff has been completely inoculated. Today we're doing that on our own. We held a camp yesterday in Alibag. Maybe we are doing that in Lonavala, but that all costs us because we are paying through our noses for these vaccines. Already a company which has been hit so badly on due to lockdown is now shelling out money in anticipation of a business. I think somewhere the government should just come to the aid of operators like us, and at least make us Atmanirbhar, as they like to call it, by giving vaccinations to all our staff.
Right. Okay, great to have you both on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking with us today. That's a bit of flavor as to how the hospitality industry is now coping with the second wave and how things are panning out over here.